All right, let's do that again. Hi, welcome everybody. This is Robot Copilots Accelerating Drupal Development with AI. Practical AI tools and techniques for modern development. My name is Will Jackson. I'm a Drupal technical lead at Canopy Studios. I have worked professionally in Drupal for about 16 years. I'm the maintainer of Audit Export and a number of other contributed modules. I'm the maintainer of Drupal GPT, which is a custom public GPT for ChatGPT. We're going to be saying that word a lot this presentation. My username on Drupal.org is wjackson. So in this presentation, we're going to explore Drupal, the AI module, so the AI suite, and a number of other contributed modules and recipes that help you build chatbots and agents within your Drupal site. The second part of the presentation is going to be getting into generative code. So Drupal development with AI. So we're going to take a look at the different tools and providers that are out there, how they can be used, and take a look at a couple of workflows that I've used that I think are really helpful. So starting, I want to talk about the Drupal AI initiative. This is a new initiative within Drupal. There is a strategic leadership that focuses on a clear mandate and closely aligns the initiative with the project roadmap, so that integration will be thoughtful and responsible. There is a targeted investment, so currently there's over $120,000 that has been put forward by the association and a number of the AI makers within the initiative, and it's there to accelerate innovation and sort of target development efforts. And all this is to produce practical and real-world use cases for AI using Drupal. So, diving right in, Drupal and AI. So, as mentioned, we're going to talk about the AI ecosystem within Drupal. So there's the artificial intelligence module. This is just drupal.org/project/AI. That module comes packed with a lot of sub-modules for automators, or with automators, extensions for CK editor, automatic translation, assistance, chatbots. There's a lot that's packed in there. Plus, we're going to take a look at a few additional contributed modules for agents and automatic translation. So the first implementation we're going to look at is an AI-powered CK editor experience. This is going to be more geared for content creators. And what we're looking at here, this is the Saplings AI CK editor recipe. So at Canopy, we are pretty involved with the recipe initiative within Drupal. And this recipe is one that you could use to quickly install and configure all of the functionality needed to implement an AI experience within Drupal using CK editor. So to install it, you would just need to run a Composer command. Composer require Drupal Saplings AI CK editor, and then in order to enable it, we would run our drush recipe command and just point it to the recipe that we download in the previous step. With this recipe, it's going to allow you to generate or use AI to generate content out of the box. It provides preset taxonomy of tones, so different tones and feels of the conversation. You can have that built right in and out of the box. You can also translate content with it, with the recipe. And the languages are user configured. So once you install the recipe, you're able to add as many as many languages as you desire. So I have a demo of what this will look like, and this demo picks up right after the install step of the recipe. So those two commands we saw earlier, the composer require command, and then the the drush recipe command. This is going to pick up right after that. So this is a pre-recorded demo, but it's going to there we go. So this is our core Drupal site. Once we install our recipe, we go to our page content. It's tied to the full HTML input format, but we will have this AI assistant button at the top. And here we have summarize tones and languages. This is going a little fast, I apologize there, but in this case, we're just asking it to write us a post about the Drupal AI initiative. It'll take a minute and it'll come back, and that's our response from AI. In this case, it's using ChatGPT to generate the content. We can review the content and inject it straight into our editor. And this is where we would review it. Obviously, you want to make sure to remove dashes and all the fun stuff that ChatGPT likes to add. In this case, it looks pretty good, but if we want to change the tone, we can just select the content, select tone. It'll pre-fill out the first section for us, and then we can just select which tones. Now, each one of these are tied to a taxonomy term. We'll get more into that in a moment, but with that, we can select our desired tone, click change the tone. It will then push out our request to ChatGPT, and then it will come back with the update in tone. We can take a look at that, and then if we're happy with that, we can go ahead and select it. Again, review it, make sure to remove dashes and all the fun emojis that ChatGPT loves to add. And then save our content. Looks good. So then looking under the hood, because we installed with our recipe, it's already pre-configured. So if we go to our full HTML input formatter for CK editor and we go to the AI tools section, we'll see the generate with AI section, which allows us to select a provider. So it doesn't have to be OpenAI and ChatGPT. It can be whichever provider you like. We can provide additional context for the prompts. In this case, in this section, we're looking at our tones. It allows us to set a taxonomy vocabulary as our tone list, and we'll take a little more. We'll look deeper into that in just a moment. But then we can also provide additional prompts. The same thing with languages. So it's just a taxonomy vocabulary with the languages listed here. And so this is our tones library, and these are all the tones that we saw in that list. We can add additional ones. But the cool thing about this is just the name of the tone, and then the description is, think of it like a prompt. So that's where we define what that tone would be. And then for languages, these are user defined, so you would have to add which languages you would like to support. In this case, we're going to add French and Spanish. We don't have to add a description, just the names. Though we could add in regions or locales into the description if we like. Now going back to our content, since we now added our languages, if we just select the content and now select language, we can select any one of the tones we add. In this case, we're going to select Spanish and then click the translate button. Wait a moment for our response. And that's going to come back translated into Spanish. And then this demo, I forgot to check out that top part where it said it translated into Spanish for it. That's clearly in English. And there we go. It's translated in Spanish. Okay, so the next recipe I want to take a look at is AI agents and chatbots. This is another recipe that we've developed at Canopy. This is Saplings AI agents, and to download that, you would use Composer. So Composer required Drupal Saplings AI agents, and then to install, it would just be drush recipe and then point it to the path of our recipes. In this case, Saplings AI agents. This recipe comes pre-installed with AI Core, AI Assistant, the chatbot, agents. It does also use OpenAI's because it's probably the most common used out there at the moment. And it has a basic implementation of an agentic chatbot that's capable of some site building features. So being able to do things like create content types, taxonomy, fields, and much more. For this demo, we're going to look at some of those basic entities, content types, taxonomy, and some of the fields. But it also does support views and creating content and much, much more. And that list seems to be growing almost weekly. So for this demo, we are installing the recipe. So this will be after our Composer require setting, but going through the recipe, it'll just go through and set things up step by step. As you can see, it's very quick. This is a fresh Drupal 11 install. Now this is a chatbot. If we go to the admin section of the page, we'll see that we have this chatbot here at the bottom right. If we select that, it gives us a greeting. And for this demo, we're going to go and create some content types. So as you can see, there's only the article and basic page default content types that are there. And our chatbot, we're going to ask it to create us a new event content type. And it'll take a few moments. And when it comes back, it lets us know that it has created the content type. So we refresh our page, we'll see our new content type. There's no fields yet, because that's just a plain content type. So now to fix that, we'll add a few fields. In this case, we're adding a date field to that content type. And it'll take a few more moments. And once complete, there's our date content field, or our date field. And we'll add another one for good measure. In this case, I'm just adding a location text field. It is good to provide the extra context text. In this case, we're specifying that it's a text field. This could be other field types too that are within Drupal, but just keep it simple. We just stuck with the date field and text field.
Is it clever enough to realize it needs an extra module to do a field type and install that as well?
There is currently no. If it doesn't have the ability to turn that on or basically enable the field that you're asking for, it will provide you with a response. So it'll be similar to like a ChatGPT response where it says you may need an extra module, but there is a prompt, and we'll look more into the configuration in just a moment. But there is a prompt for the different types of fields. So it could come into the form of an override. You can kind of create a custom prompt to
add a leaflet, for example.
Right.
And mass.
Exactly.
Is it smart enough to reuse existing fields in any content type?
Haven't tried that yet. That would be a good test. I would imagine it would be, as long as you specify, because there are a lot of prompts, and the prompts in the configuration are, think of it almost like different endpoints within your site. It provides the prompt about the ChatGPT, but it also provides the connection within Drupal to get the information that it needs. So things like existing fields should be in there. I think that's covered under the field agent, but that's a good question. I'll have to look into that. And then the other thing, because this was a content type, taxonomy terms. In this demo, in this recipe, it also works with taxonomy, so we can go create, in this case, let's use tones vocabulary, similar to that last presentation, but this is where we're creating it. And if we refresh the page, we see that our tones vocabulary has been added. So now looking at the configuration, so this is kind of under the hood. This is the section that adds the AI module and all of its submodules. These are the agents, so the taxonomy agent, the field type agent, node content type agent. There's lots of other agents that you can add to through additional contrib modules. This is the assistant that's tied to the chatbot. This has the general instructions for the assistant, and it also allows us to specify agent actions. So this is where we would give it the ability to create content type or create content types through the agent, field type agents, and taxonomy agent. Some basic default settings with our agent settings specifically. If we look under the hood, and this is when I got to get into the prompts that we were talking about earlier. So for content types, if we look at the prompt configuration, these are all the individual prompts. Now we can't override each one of these or provide additional instructions for each prompt. This is just out of the box default, so it's pretty bare bones, but very powerful as is. And for the chatbot itself, so what we're seeing in the bottom right, this is a block that's added to the admin theme, and this is the configuration for the block, and we would specify which agent we like. So we have different assistants. So if we want to specify a different assistant, we can do that here, as well as set up some customization. What's the name of the bot, how it greets you, colors, etc. And that's it for the AI agents demo.
Question? It has to do with creating a new content type. If you're iterating over an idea and you're building out a content type and you find as you're connecting things together, you need some additional fields on the existing content type. Will the chatbot, can you have that, can the chatbot accept and add existing fields or add fields to an existing content type through prompts?
Yes, so the question is, if there is an existing content type and we would like to add new fields, can we use the chatbot to add those new fields to an existing, like does it require it to be a new content type? Is that the question?
That, yes.
Gotcha. Yes, you can, all you have to do is just specify which content type it is, whether it's new or pre-existing. It'll pick that up.
Okay.
So you just need to specify it, whether it be the human readable label for the content type or the machine name. Both should work fine. Unless you have some that are like really close and you might want to get a little more specific. All right, so part 2 of the presentation. So the first part was about how AI interacts with Drupal, some of the contrib modules and the ecosystem, what's out there. And this part is going to be more about coding. So generative code, a lot of the tools that are out there, how they're used, how I've used them, how I've had success with them. I just want to share some of those workflows with you today. So I want to start off with a couple of quotes. Sundar Pichai, this is the CEO of Google. This was on a quarterly earnings report, I think of last November, stated that more than 25% of all new code that's coming out of Google's products is generated by AI. Kevin Scott, CTO of Microsoft, expects by 2030, 95% of code is going to be AI generated, with very little being human written code. And this was on the 20DC podcast, I think just last month. It was very recent. And getting into generative code, there's a lot of places to get started. I think most of us have used and experienced ChatGPT. We've probably written some code with it, written some scripts. And I like to call that like a level 1. Level 2 and level 1 are kind of similar. The web assistants, custom projects, custom GPTs. That's sort of getting started. That's where everybody sort of gets started. Then we're going to get into dedicated IDEs. So this will be things like Cursor, Windsurf, Tab9, Void. There's lots of them now. GitHub Copilot. They're great, and we're going to take a look at some of those. Desktop MCP. So MCP, I feel, is my preferred way of using generative code. And this is just using the Anthropic developed protocol, model context protocol, which allows you to do a lot of fun things with your AI chat agents. And then agentic coding, otherwise known as vibe coding. This is sort of hands-off, let it do its thing, and kind of where that goes. But you don't want to be too hands-off with it. You want to be mindful, and we're going to get into that and take a look at some demos there too. So first, I guess level 1 and 2, web assistants and custom GPTs. So as mentioned, ChatGPT, most people are familiar. Has anyone not used ChatGPT to write code? Okay. Very good.
That's because we have a GitHub Copilot.
Oh, gotcha. So very similar. You're still writing prompts and exactly. So yeah, this in most of these demos that we're going to have moving forward, there's a particular prompt that I'm using. So there's a set of instructions. So this is you're a Drupal developer, you're a senior developer, you write good code, et cetera, et cetera. And then there is the same prompt that I'm sending through all of these different tools. So in this case, I'm just creating like an AI code demo with ChatGPT. There's a lot of features to it. I mean, there's the actual code that the actual chatbot. There's also voice mode, Sora, and a few other tools too that I would definitely recommend checking out and then complementing your usage with. So ChatGPT, pretty standard. You just give it a prompt, it will do its thing, and it'll provide you files that you can then copy and paste into your IDE to whether it be build a module, create a twig template, what have you. In this case, we're just building a module, so it's providing us a lot of files and then giving us a little summary at the end on how to use that. Pretty straightforward.
I don't want to derail too much. I have a question. You might be getting to it. Have you used these tools to analyze past code?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's deeper down, probably more on the agentic side. It's level 5, but yes, and actually I think there's a demo that you're going to like with that. So it's pretty deep. Yeah, so this is just ChatGPT standard going through, providing you code that you would then copy and paste. Call this level 2. It's custom GPTs. Really, it's the paid version of ChatGPT. It allows you to create custom GPTs. And what is a custom GPT? It can be used in a number of ways. You can create it for a project. Particular, say if you have a large task where you're creating a module that you're going to be iterating on for a given period of time, having a place where you can have multiple chats along with the same project. You can have independent project notes and instructions for that chat. It's really cool. So as mentioned, I maintain Drupal GPT. This is just a copy of it, but allows you to have a description, independent instructions, conversation starters, knowledge. These custom GPTs could then be shared with your team or the public. So you can just turn it out, open to everybody and let anybody use it, as I've done with Drupal GPT. And there's a big library of custom GPTs out there, thousands upon thousands of them that you can use. I would encourage you to check out Drupal GPT, but there are a number of other Drupal related GPTs to look at that are also very good. Anthropic. So this is probably my favorite provider for coding with just generative code in general. Very similar to ChatGPT. It allows you to create projects. A project within Anthropic is similar to a custom GPT within ChatGPT. It is really easy to connect it with a GitHub repo, and the paid plans of Claude allow you to download Claude Desktop, which is kind of where we get into MCPs, and we'll dive deeper into that in a few slides down the road. And again, very similar to ChatGPT. This is the free version that we're looking at here, so I actually have to provide sort of the instructions that I typically would as part of the prompt, and it'll go through and give you the code just like everything else. Some of the things I do like about Claude over ChatGPT is that it just feels like it's more geared towards development. Or at least the people that wrote it are really trying to make it more applicable for coders. There's a lot of quality of life things that are available in Claude. There's like a little thing where you can like paste in the whole object or just the file name. Something with like if you're in your IDE and you copy a file and then you paste it into the chat, you can just hit Command C and it'll paste the whole object. So here's the whole file, the file name, here's all the code. Command Shift V will paste just the file name, and I can't tell you how annoying it is going back to ChatGPT with not having that feature. Being able to specify, not having to type out the file or the file name, it gets a bit repetitive, and just that those quality of life things with Claude really make it nice for coding. So that's what I'd lean towards. But yeah, so pretty similar. Otherwise, though, custom project, as mentioned, is similar to a custom GPT within ChatGPT. In this case, we're just creating a new project, and we're tagging. We have the ability to tag it to a GitHub repo, so that way, context like files and whole directories can be included with the project knowledge. You don't have to keep adding them. You don't have to go make changes, download it, upload it again. It just kind of tracks it and syncs it automatically. So again, it's really good. It's a really good coding experience. Gemini, I do want to mention them. They do provide a lot of value, especially on the free versions. They have a really large token context window. So the amount, think about like the memory, how much can the chat keep on board, and you can ask questions it can recall. It is very large. Also, if you're ever doing anything with YouTube, so if you have like an hour-long video and you know there's a quote in here, the person being interviewed said a thing, you don't know where it was at. Gemini is great for being able to pass it a link to a YouTube video and ask, where did they say this? And it'll give you description, it'll give you the timestamp, everything. I haven't had this one yet. I'm sure it will. I mean, all AIs hallucinate, but it works great, even the free versions. But if you're also working with something like a tool like Firebase, something that is a Google product, it works fantastic with that.
What I was getting at, I've had success feeding Gemini config files for multiple projects.
Yeah.
and then saying, okay, what are the most popular content types across these 10 higher education projects?
Oh, nice.
And it's like, oh, here you go.
Interesting. Yeah, that's
What's the most popular vocabularies? You know, what do you recommend we use based on these patterns?
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll have to give that a shot. But yeah, there's a lot of really neat ways to use it, and having that really large context window allows you to just throw everything into it and just let it go. Thanks, Ken. Yeah, and all of these, we're working with prompts. So just some general tips for optimizing your prompts. Be very specific with your requests. Very specific. The more context, the better. If you can provide file names, paths, full paths, all that's really, really helpful. Try to make decisions for the AI. If you know you're going to do like a hook cron, or we're going to implement a batch API or queue API implements, let it know that. Provide it with an example. If you have some prior code, maybe provide that as an example. You can specify it. But I think the biggest improvement I've found with my prompts, or getting better prompts, is having it ask you questions. Have it ask you additional questions if you don't understand, or specify. Ask me 5 more questions to help you better understand the task, so that we can provide, or the outcome is more of what we're looking for. So that last one was a big one to help improve things. So dedicated IDEs. Cursor, this is one that's very popular right now. It's an IDE. Basically, it's based on VSCode. This has a lot of AI features built into that. You can specify the model, so this isn't like ChatGPT, or it's not exclusive to ChatGPT or Anthropic. You can specify whatever models you like. There's also some NCP integrations with this too. For the demo, what we're looking at here, so this is the, when you first install, you can import key bindings. I'm more of a JetBrains fan, so there's also key bindings for that. Just go download a plugin and install it. As there, and some of the features, there's agentic, cursor tabs, and inline editing. But once we get installed, or once it's installed and we get started, this is an important note. By default, it's going to share your data. You don't have to do that. You can turn it off, but it's not going to let you get to the application until you say you're fine with this and you proceed. But once you turn this on, you want to go into your settings, privacy settings, to turn that off if you don't want to be sharing your code with Cursor. I guess it depends on what you're doing. If you're working on something open source, a Drupal contrib module might not be a bad idea, just so that way they can use it to improve their models. But client data, please turn this off. So we're just going to check this box and proceed here. And once we do that, we see our VS Code like interface. We have a chat similar to before, same commands, and we're just looking at, that's our command for, and all these commands, I have them at the end in the appendix of the slides. So if you go to Drupal Camp Asheville and look at our slide notes, all these links to commands, all of that's provided in the appendix of this presentation. But in this case, we've provided a request. It's creating a module, so this involves multiple files. It will go through and create them. As it creates them, it will show which files are being, it'll present each file within the IDE. We can take a look at that. Now this is speed ramped, I think like 1,200%, so it's going really fast, and I apologize for that, but you get the idea. It creates the code, adds it in the right place. You can turn it on. I asked it to add some context with my, or tokens with my text area, and this is a very basic module. It's just create me a form and a welcome message. But as you see, it breaks. It's terrible. So you have to keep on top of it. You want to be testing things constantly. And one strategy is when it breaks, you can just copy and paste all that code, slam it right back into the chat, and let it do its thing. And there we go. It's back. It's working now. But as we can see later, it's not quite. We're not quite out of the woods yet. When we save this form, oh my gosh, I just turned it. So you want to really work with it. You want to push it. You want to really kind of know what code it's adding. If you see the issues, let it know. But then you can just copy and paste this into back and forth. It will fix it. It's kind of like the vibe coding style, but you really want to know what you're adding, and sort of be responsible with what's being introduced to the code base. But in this case, it is pretty cool because it's just an IDE. It's all integrated. It's all one place. you don't have to worry about copy and pasting files. It's just creating them for you and keeping that straight. So you might have to uninstall the module, reinstall it during that process. And let's skip forward just a little bit for time. One of the things too, just to mention, the code that it creates, a lot of times it's pretty good, but we still want to be mindful of coding standards. So in this case, we're still running our code sniffer on that. A lot of these can be automatically fixed, but definitely likes to use straight Drupal calls. It doesn't like to inject dependency. So you want to keep on top of it. And a lot of times you just take that error, put it back into the chat, and a lot of times will resolve.
You got to ask if you could get it to refactor if it used a straight Drupal.
Oh, yeah.
And get it to refactor that out.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's copy pasted in there. It might take a couple times. Or again, if you have an example, that's even better because it's just less back and forth that you have to go through. But eventually, it usually does a great job. And the code that is produced, it is on GitHub. So if you want to take a look at the code that it produced, it's not a polished gem. It's just where it ended for this demo and where it kind of stuck. But that's the GitHub repo. There's a Cursor branch. There's also a Claude branch for MCP, for the MCP demo that's coming up soon. But yeah, so that's there. And again, all these links are in the presentation appendix.
Yeah, did you, so there's a Cursor like RC file so you can set up like coding standards and like prompts for it.
Right.
Have you set one of those up for Drupal yet?
Not yet. So I don't use Cursor. This is more, I've used it for the demo. I'm more into, like I said, my preference is Claude Desktop with MCP configuration using the file server, MCP server. So that's kind of where I stand, but yes, absolutely. So there's additional files that you can create for the application that allows you to specify coding standards and some additional prompts. And that's something too that you want to iterate on. It's not really a set it and forget it thing. As you're working with it and you're like, oh, I can maybe extend this or make this better somehow. Go back and edit that file. And those, think of it like an elaborate instruction set that's very specific for Cursor. It's just going to automatically be looking in that place. But you can also extend it. So in that settings file, you can also say, I have another settings file if you want to sort of break things out and make it a little easier to manage. So yeah. So GitHub Copilot, they also have an IDE. It's also provided via VSCode extension. You can also integrate this with JetBrains, so like PHP Storm. But it's very similar. Multi-line edits, smart rewrites, tab completion with code. It has an agent mode, so it can just go and do its thing, similar to Cursor. I do have a demo. This is more of their PR demo here. But one of the other cool things that you can do with GitHub Copilot is it can sit within your repo. So if you want to have pair coding, like do a pull request review or a code review for you, you can assign it to GitHub, and that's really cool. And you can set your own standards there, and that's fantastic. So that's one thing that I think GitHub Copilot brings to the table that, there are other providers that do that, but GitHub really does it well. I mean, it's GitHub and it's built into GitHub. If you're using GitHub already, it's definitely worth checking out. And this is where we're looking at the pair programmer for the, assign your issue to Copilot, and it'll do its thing, create a pull request that you can review. I do like this step because it gives you the opportunity to review the code and more of a standard workflow. So if you're already doing code review, and it complements that workflow very well. Windsurf's another one. I don't have a demo for this, but very similar. So this was also a very popular one for a while. It also has agentic mode based on VSCode. A lot of these are based on VSCode just because it's open source. As mentioned, I'm a JetBrains fan, so that's why I went with Claude Desktop, and we'll get into that in just a moment. Tab9 is another one I think that's worth mentioning. They do a lot with data security, data privacy, and that's, I would say their strict is they really care about the data that's being sent to the model. So you can have your own company policies for that, and it's really, but also very similar. So getting into MCP clients and servers. Client and server. So a MCP client, this would be an application. This would be Cursor. Next, we're going to be taking a look at Claude Desktop, but it's the application that you're interacting with. A server is there's a Drupal module called Drupal MC or just MCP, Model Context Protocol, that turns your whole Drupal site into a MCP server. The one we're going to be looking at in just a moment is the file system MCP server, and what that sits on your machine and allows Claude Desktop to have access to your file system. So it allows it to write code, create directories, they describe it, Anthropic, they're the company behind this, but it's a protocol, and they describe it like USB-C, just a universal protocol to connect to tools. It's widely adopted, so even OpenAI and ChatGPT, they're even using MCP now with some of their team accounts. It's a really cool service. And so this is the client list. It's actually much larger than this. Claude Desktop's the one we're going to take a look at today. Cursor being another one. Tab 9, Windsurf, all of them have MCP capabilities now. And that list is growing daily. MCP servers, so these are the things that you can connect to. There are a lot of them, and all of them that exist are not listed here, and they're coming out by the daily. So, but again, the one that we're going to be taking a look at today is this file system MCP server. So Claude Desktop, I've been talking about that. It's very similar to the web assistant. The one nice thing about this, even if you're not using MCP, is that you have the ability to have longer message lengths. So a lot of times as you're using the web assistant, it'll stop. It'll just stop in the middle of its code or what it's doing, and you have to take continue. Sometimes it continues correctly, sometimes it doesn't. And those longer messages make it really nice to not have to do that as frequently. But the biggest thing is that the desktop application allows you to connect to, and it acts as an MCP client, but allows you to connect to MCP servers. So this is our Claude Desktop MCP demo. So again, this is the file system MCP server. It allows you to do things like read and write files. So here's all the tools listing. There's read files, multiple files, create directories, list directories, get file info, list directories. There's a lot. And this is our configuration. You would install it using npm, or node, or npx, and you give it a command, and you specify the package, and then all the directories that you want to give it access to. So if you are on Unix or Linux and Mac, this is the configuration that you would add to your Claude Desktop config JSON file. For the demo, we're using Windows, so I want to show sort of both of these. So this is on this is a Windows client that we're using. But once we get installed, we'll have this file system tool. There are all the tools that we saw listed on the previous page. And if we go to our settings, you go to integrations, we'll see a file system section. And it's a tool that's local. And if we take a look at the edit file and edit config, this is the Windows setting. Very similar. It's pretty much the same thing. We're just passing at the location to node, and then the arguments are, in this case, where is the index file for the MCP server, and the path to, in this case, just our demo site. And we're going to jump forward because we're kind of close on time. I think I just went to the beginning again. So if we go through and create a project, we will do this. This is a demo project. It gives us a chat. We can add project instructions. We can tie it to a GitHub repo as we've done previously. Here's our custom instructions. And then similar, we're providing the same command. And in this case, it's going to be very similar, again, to the web client. But using that MCP server, it's going to, because this is a program that's running on your computer. It's going to have access to the file system, so it's going to be able to, instead of just telling you about the files, it can go out and create the files for you. Now, how is this different than Cursor? Why would I say take this over Cursor? Because Cursor does a lot of cool things. Well, the chat client in this is maintained by Anthropic. If I'm doing something like editing a twig file, for example, I can get a screenshot of it, slap that into the web, into this chat, and it can infer that. Now, I would have a hard time doing that with Cursor. So just having those quality of life things that the web assistant has. I feel like there's just a bit more capability there with that chat client. And it works with other IE you like. Since it's writing the files directly, if you want to use JetBrains, use JetBrains. If you like VSCode, if you like VSCode, you might want to check out Cursor. Some of the other ones, because they are really cool. But if you're using like PHP Storm or something, it's really good because you don't have to worry about any third-party plugins. You don't have to worry about keeping anything up to date. Just out of the box, it'll work with it. I mean, if you like to use, I don't know, NeoVim or something wild like that, you can use that too. So in this case, we just created our AI demo module, turned it on. It did things a little bit differently. The forms, very similar. How implemented is a little different, but again, this is sort of a one-shot approach with it. I want to jump out of this demo. But some of the things that you can do here, optimize token usage. So being able to provide full paths. So when don't require the chat client to have to go through and find all of the files. You can shortcut it. You can tell them where the files are. So that'll save you a little bit of token windows, or a little bit of your token usage. Again, all of the comforts with Web Assistant that you get with Claude Desktop using MCP, so you can use your existing workflow. Drupal MCP, so this is a Drupal module. So how we were chatting with the Drupal site, getting it to create content types and things earlier, you can connect that to it. So as you're talking with your chat, Claude Desktop, it can be creating content for you. And getting into agentic coding. So this is more the vibe coding section. Some of the use cases, so porting modules. The demo that I have in my presentation is porting a Drupal 11 module to WordPress in one shot, which blew my mind. You can scaffold a whole site. So I've built entire Next.js sites with this before from the ground up. Now, it's not perfect. It gets you a long ways down the road, but you still need to have some refinement to it. It's really helpful just building helper applications. I would recommend also pairing it with other things. Voice mode. That one was cool. Being able just to have a conversation with the AI, like the ChatGPT voice mode, where you just have a back and forth conversation with it. Have a conversation with ChatGPT. Have it create an instruction set for you that basically details the task that you're trying to go for. And that's what we did. That's what we did for the porting over to the WordPress module, which we'll see in just a minute. Code refactors, being able to have it go through line by line, understand the code, pretty much do a full code audit. It's fantastic. And then producing documentation too. So Claude Code, it's great for large tasks. As mentioned, instruction sets. It does give you a prompt so you can talk with it and have a back and forth conversation like you would with any other chat client. But where it really shines, I feel, is with instruction sets. And then you can combine it with voice mode for a nearly hands-off experience, which is mind-blowing. I'll go and watch this demo, and we're kind of short on time, so I might skip parts of this, but try to. So this is a Claude Code is a command line tool. There's also Code Assistant from Gemini, so they just released their own CLI tool. So Google Gemini has something similar, and it's free. So if you're looking to get into it, it's a great place to start. This is an instruction set that I created with Drupal GPT, and effectively it's kind of a high-level overview of what we are doing in this project. So we've got a Drupal 7 or a Drupal 11 module. We need WordPress. This is what the module does, et cetera, et cetera. Again, all these prompts are on the GitHub repos in the appendix of the slides, so I'd encourage you to go check them out. But in this case, there's multiple instruction sets. So this is another one. This is where we're talking about how to pretty much do code audit for the Drupal module itself. Go through things line by line. How is it being used? What it connects to? It's pretty in depth here, but again, this is all generated from ChatGPT off of a voice conversation with very, very little modification after the fact. And I think the only thing I did was it thought it was a blog post, so it's like, thank you for reading, and it added that at the end, so I just deleted that, and that was pretty much it. This is where we're getting into like the WordPress module, or the WordPress plugin. Follow standards. It is pretty much the same thing as the Drupal modules link or the instruction set. But Claude Code will use these instruction sets to accomplish its task. And it'll create a checklist, and it'll just burn through that checklist. The module that we're doing is an authentication module, so it's not I think it's something like 2,000 lines worth of code, so it's still a good bit of code. but it's working through that. But it also depends on a parent module, so there's like some hooks involved, and it's a little bit more involved. So I mean, knowing how the Drupal hook system works, and then translating that to WordPress, there are some complications to it.
How many tokens is it burning through to do this?
Yeah, so the tokens, because there were multiple steps. So there was the first thing where it was like, review the Drupal module, and then the second step was create the WordPress plugin. So there were 2 different efforts that I went through. It's about 15,000 tokens. But there are certain plans, so Claude Pro and Claude Max, that's just that Claude Code usage comes with that now. So you don't have to actually pay for it. I mean, you still can pay for it, like get an API key, tie it to that, and sort of pay for it as you use it. But you can also, they have certain plans that sort of come with a preset amount of tokens, and that's what this was done under. So it wasn't paid for like independently. It was just part of the normal plan. This is the code that it produced at the end, sort of reviewing the Drupal module. It's very verbose, but it provides everything we need to then keep it moving with the WordPress plugin and create that. So getting close to time, so I'm probably going to jump forward a little bit. And this is that second step, so like going through that second effort where I was using more tokens there. But it describes the plugin that it creates, and at the end, once it's done, it actually one-shot this, so I didn't have to go and change anything, which is pretty impressive. And this was just, it turned it on and it worked. So I was able to get this application I was working on to support WordPress in, I think, about 10 minutes. And that was just like a conversation that I had with it on a car ride home. It's like, oh, I have an idea, let me do this. And then it worked, and it just blew my mind. So I was like, I gotta tell people about this. We're close to time, so I'm gonna go through this pretty quickly. Gemini, as mentioned, Google's Gemini, it's free and open source. They do have paid versions, but it is for use. They have their code assistants, which is a plugin for VSCode and JetBrains. They've recently came out with Gemini CLI, which you can do very similar things with it as you can with Claude Code. So recapping the presentation, we got the web assistants. We have our desktop applications with MCP and agentic coding. So there's 3 different things there. Web assistants are great for maybe a quick script. You want to have a quick idea that you want to run through. Maybe you're doing some planning. Web assistants are great for that. The desktop applications and MCP, I feel like that's, if you're actually writing code, that's what you should be using, because it's going to just make it more optimal. You don't have to copy and paste things. You don't have to think about, well, here's just one little block of code, and I've got this 1,500 line file. Where does it go? It just handles it for you. Agentic coding, I use it for larger tasks, code review, writing a whole WordPress plugins or Drupal modules. So it's a Drupal camp. I talked about WordPress plugin, but I've also used it for porting modules from Drupal 7 to Drupal 11, nearly in the same way. Having it create everything for you, but just being specific. In your instruction set, specify. Make sure you're using the more modern API. But it works really well. For best practices, providing a lot of context, give it the file paths, get the whole file names wherever possible, especially for the desktop MCPs where you actually are burning a lot of tokens. You want to be able to reduce that as much as possible. And if it doesn't have to go out and find a file, it's just that much closer to it. Maintain code quality, so where this is really cool and it's generating a lot of code, still keep on top of it. Make sure it's not doing anything too wild. And then combine the tools for better results. So I was using ChatGPT for the voice mode and then taking that output and putting in the Claude Code. So it's not necessarily one's better than the other. They all have their separate use cases. Just knowing what to use and when to use it. Security considerations. Never give it production credentials, please. You'd be surprised. Always review it for vulnerabilities and coding standards. Client data, so PII, I don't put PII in there either. That's I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but again, you'd be surprised. And there are enterprise AI tooling out there for More sensitive work, so having your own model, making sure that none of the data doesn't go out to a third party. You can do that too. But just be familiar with the data providers or the provider's data policies, how they use it. Know the defaults, know how you can change what you can change. But also use it responsibly. Be transparent with you're using it. Let people know you're using it. Talk about it with your clients, and that might even require updating some contracts. So have that in place, so that way, when you are using it responsibly. Some common pitfall solutions: over-reliance. A lot of people really rely too heavily on generative code, and they're not really understanding what's happening. They're sort of copying, pasting, throwing stuff in there, but use it as a way to learn. It's really easy to kind of get comfortable with it, but if you're staying on top of it and watching the code as it comes through, it'll be in a good spot. Inconsistent styles. So this is where you update your instructions, update templates, provided templates. You want to make sure everything is consistent. Hallucinations. Verify documentation. So provided documentation, provide it with those examples, so that way it knows exactly what it is. And it's also a good thing to, again, know what you're doing, know what you're requesting. Don't just rely on it to do everything, handle everything. Have some oversight there. Another site I want to mention, workflows of AI. So this is specifically for Drupal. These are videos. This is a website. Again, the link for this is in the appendix for the slides. So just go to Drupal Camp Asheville's website. The page for this presentation, there's a link to the slides. At the end of the slides, you'll see the link for workflows of AI. This is cool. This is like videos and examples and a lot of use cases. Like I think, like the large amount of configurations. I think that would probably be a really cool one to have here, because there's a lot of cool ideas you can get from this page. Continuing the conversation, the Drupal Slack. There are a few channels. There may be more, but these are the main ones. So there's the AI channel, there's AI Contrib, the AI Initiative, and AI Initiative Marketing. I added that one just because they listed on their page, so I wanted to include that too, since the Drupal Initiative wanted to include that. And questions. And apologies for the speed run at the end. I was trying to get it within time. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned a fantastic presentation about it.
Thank you.
You mentioned your preference for JetBrains. I have the same thing. I've been struggling because I'll have Cursor open and JetBrains have WebStorm open, and I'm just like,
oh my gosh.
It's awesome, but it's frustrating at the
Yeah.
same time. I'm wondering how, so one thing that I'm using in Cursor is having Cursor rules set up, and with Claude Desktop MCP, it looked like when you were using the Claude Code there, you would have like a long definition file that looks similar to me to like a rules file.
Yeah.
So how are you incorporating that when you're using the desktop Claude with MCP, or are you, I guess?
Great question. Yes, is a short answer. And the question is, so with Cursor, there is the Cursor files, which allow you to provide instructions and sort of the definitions for whatever it is you're doing, the project or the task at hand. So with Claude Desktop, I'm using projects. So I create a project for whatever it is I'm doing. And then with the project, there's the instruction file for the project. So I'll include that there. So one of the things that I have in my project file at the very end is to always use the tools. So I use the file system tools wherever possible. But that's referring to the file system MCP server, and including that one line, every time it tries to make a change, it will try to look for the files, make the changes for you. I would recommend checking out Claude Desktop, or even, because like I said, I'm a huge JetBrains fan. I don't like relying on third-party plugins. It's really nice to be able to have on one window Claude Desktop, and that's my chat conversation. But then here's my vanilla JetBrains PHP Storm IDE that I'm used to, and that's my normal workflow, and it just complements it very well. So I don't have to have a third party there. But that does again require you to use Claude Desktop. But there are other MCP clients out there. Cursor also is an MCP client, but again, you're kind of using VSCode and PHP Storm. So I would again probably lean towards Claude Desktop, because that just that I feel like the chat interface is a lot better for the Claude Desktop than like the built-in ones. Not to knock on Cursor or anything, but there's just a lot more support, a lot more time that's been put into that chat client for Anthropic. Yeah.
Have you tried the Climb plugin for VS Code?
The client plugin.
Cline, C-L-I-N-E.
Oh, I've not. What is that?
It's kind of like what Claude Desktop does. You have it'll do a lot of file rewrite, a lot of file system MCP stuff by itself.
Oh, cool. Very neat. No, that's nice. I know. Yeah, Cursor does have MCP connections too. So there's all those servers and even like the Drupal MCP module that allows you to connect to that. So that's going to say Cline plugin.
And it'll also, you can connect it to, they've got their own service where they basically resell Anthropic. You can also connect directly to Anthropic with a API or set up your own, anything that's OpenAI compatible.
Fantastic. And that just uses the normal API. You can create like an API token and very cool. Very cool. Yes?
I want to ask a question back on creating content.
Okay.
Is there the capability to insert images into content? And if so, have you tried that? And if so, how did you integrate with your image sources to be able to intelligently select imagery?
Yeah, so this is sort of like a gray area question. So
It's not that far along yet. That just
yeah, I mean the support. I'm sure it will be there very soon. It can support. So there are some agents for creating like generative images for fields, which it sounds like you have like a library of images you would like to use.
That's kind of what I was thinking about. If you've got a library of images, what do you need to do with your library in order to allow the content
Ooh, that's a good one.
piece to intelligently select imagery for your content?
That's a new one. That would be a really great idea for a new contrib module or a way to extend it. But it's very close. I mean, within the AI agents module, there are submodules for creating content. So that piece is already there. It can also, if it can create generative images and attach it to a field, then that's like half of the way there for the images. It really seems like we just need to be able to have a way to. There is a Drupal MCP client contrib module, and it might be something like that. So like if you have there's the MCP client and server. So there's the client and server sort of protocols between the two. We were looking at the file system server. But there's a Drupal module that adds the MCP module, creates it as a server. But there's also a client module too. It's not as it's newer. But something like that could be a great use case for that, just because it allows your Drupal site to then configure to other servers, which could potentially be a file system. It could be other third-party remote applications, and that list keeps growing. So it might be Google Photos, or depending on however your workflow is. There might be a server for that. But yeah, that's interesting. That'll be one to look forward to soon, because like I said, it seems like it would be a pretty common request. So that's cool. Yes.
I'm coming into this completely flat-footed. It's almost embarrassing how little I know about
Oh, no worries.
this. How much of this ecosystem has existed for how long? When did this basically the whole concept of this spring up?
Oh boy, great question. So there's the Drupal ecosystem. So that's been around.
Oh yeah.
Not the whole Drupal, but like the Drupal AI, contrib
Right.
suite, and that sort of thing. Those modules have. I would say they've been around since, I would say, ChatGPT 3.5, if you can timestamp when that was released. That was sort of, or at least where I first noticed a lot of movement in the AI space within Drupal. But
more about Claude Desktop and the things that you're using.
It's that probably the past year.
Past year. Okay.
Yeah, so I've been using Claude Desktop for a while. Recently kind of got into MCP, which was really cool. We're at time. If anybody else has some more questions, feel free to reach out to me on Drupal Slack. My name is W. Jackson there, wjackson on Drupal.org. And all of our links in the appendix. Check it out. So thank you all.
I really like how you did the accelerated videos.